Welcome to this Pepper podcast. Thank you for joining me. My name is Justin Weber. I'm a partner in the Trial and Dispute Resolution Practice Group at Pepper Hamilton. Pepper has a proud history of advising, pioneering, and innovative businesses around the country. And that work has continued even during the COVID-19 crisis. In this podcast series, we're profiling some of our clients who are stepping up to help society during the pandemic. I'm pleased to interview Todd Kyriss, Executive Vice President of Operations, and Matt Cowan, Chief Marketing Officer of Elite Sportswear. Welcome, and thanks for joining me today, Matt and Todd.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Thanks, Justin. Looking forward to it.
Great. Matt, why don't we start with you? Can you tell us a little bit about Elite Sportswear and specifically prior to March of this year, before everything changed for so many companies, what were Elite's goals and plans for the year?
Sure. Well, Elite Sportswear, starting from the kind of overview of our company, Elite Sportswear is the combination of the world's leading sports specialty brands. So we have what we'd like to call three legs to our stool. We have gymnastics, which is represented by GK, which is the global brand leader in the sport of gymnastics apparel. Second, we have a swimwear division, which is our Dolphin swimwear brand. And then finally, we have our cheer division, which is comprised of two companies, Omni Cheer, which is a direct-to-consumer cheerleading apparel, accessories, footwear company, and GK All-Star, which is focused on the All-Star version of cheerleading. So our goals for the year going into 2020, we're really focused on the Olympics. Every 4 years, the Olympic cycle booms, and that produces a boost in participation for really all of our sports, but specifically gymnastics and swimming. And in the process, you see this global participation boost. Everyone sees these, incredible athletes wearing, Elite Sportswear product, and they're really incentivized. They're excited. Participation's with them. So we had massive goals heading into 2020. And as, the pandemic began to break, slowly our dreams of a huge 2020 commercial year started to simmer, and really had to shift towards how do we support our business, how do we support our athletes, how do we support our communities during this period of time.
Well, that's great. Thanks, Matt. Hey, Todd, can you tell us a little bit about how Elite decided to use its manufacturing operation to produce masks and other PPE? And what was your initial reaction to this idea?
Yeah, so, as Matt had stated, we spend the first half of our year during an Olympic year preparing for the back half of the year from a production standpoint. We're pretty much running 24/7 from July through basically the end of the year. So when Governor Wolf came out and announced that he was going to implement a stay-at-home order and the non-essential business shutdown, it kind of sent us into a turmoil. What do we do next? And so, my vice president of production, Donato Casciano, and myself started kind of brainstorming over the weekend and trying to decide how we can make our business essential and keep our employees working, but also trying to give back to the community, because we had read, prior to this, even before the shutdown, that there was a lot of need for PPE. We had done a little bit of discussion about, we really weren't sure where things were going to go. And then lastly, trying to at least keep the business going to generate some type of positive cash flow for the business to absorb some of the stranded overhead that we had in the business during the shutdown. So again, we started kind of brainstorming on that. I think it was March 19th we actually shut down. It was on a Thursday. On that Friday, we spent a lot of time talking about what we could do. We spoke over the weekend. We did a lot of research on the internet, trying to figure out what the PPE needs were out there and how they might, be aligned with our business and what we could do. On that Monday, Donato, a pattern maker and a sewer, came in and actually made up some prototypes of a mask, a couple different types of masks. On that Tuesday, myself, a few other key individuals in the business came in that were going to be needed to support such an operation. And we started to put together a plan of what we would do. But we pulled them together and we asked everybody, a lot of tenured employees here in this business and been around this community for a long time, we asked them to start reaching out to their medical and industrial contacts to figure out what they needed in the form of PPE and masks. And from that, we actually came across a large medical network here in the area, the Reading and surrounding area, called Penn Health. And they aligned us with one of their product engineers, and they were in great need of some type of mask coverings. And so we started working with them. They provided us some input on the current masks that we had. We made up some additional prototypes for them. They took them over the weekend into their hospitals with their doctors and nurses and let them wear them and try to figure out what they liked, what they didn't like, what we needed to change. On that Monday, we came back in, got their feedback, made a few tweaks, and we were off and running. And, we got the commercial team involved. And from that point on, demand was intense. I mean, we literally could not keep up for the first 4 to 5 weeks of production. We went from 0 employees to about 60 employees in the operation. And then we added, over about the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've added actual level 1 gown production as well, contract sewing and manufacturing. We are now up over 120 associates back in the operation, and it's going to continue to grow on a weekly basis.
Wow. I'm sure our audience is curious about how you were able to adjust so quickly in the moment. But can you tell us what were some of the biggest hurdles that you faced when you started up this new manufacturing initiative?
Yeah, the biggest one was really trying to figure out, first of all, the market needs and how our capabilities would meet those market needs. As you can imagine, there were many opportunities out there for us to make a variety of different types of PPE equipment. Some were very complicated. They were complex. They required all kinds of raw material qualifications. They required all kinds of what I would say just meaty resources to be able to do testing and a variety of things. And we just decided that we didn't want to get into that. We felt like this was going to be a short-term solution for us. And that we wanted to do something that we could get up into production quickly, and we could start providing benefits to both our workers as well as the community as quickly as possible. So we decided on moving forward with 2 different styles of masks. One was more of a surgical style looking mask, but it was really just a face cover that would protect from spreading the virus from one person to another. And then the second was an N95 mask cover. As you know, the N95 masks were in great need, and there was a short supply at the very beginning of this pandemic. And so we built a cover that would actually fit over the top of this mask so that they could reuse these masks on a day-to-day basis.
As you were trying to navigate not only the business challenges, trying to figure out what your new market looks like, figure it out about your new operations, you also had a legal overlay that you were trying to navigate and figure out. And it was great to work with Elite during this time as it was making that pivot. Can you talk a little bit about some of the legal challenges or issues that you faced and how we navigated those?
Yeah, first and foremost, it was trying to figure out if we could legally start production in our facility. We were not deemed as an essential business. So, even though we had started producing PPE, we didn't feel comfortable that we could just start this up without getting some type of approval from the governor's office. So we reached out to Pepper and Hamilton, started asking questions. They gave us a really good comfort feeling right up front that we were probably in a good spot because we were strictly making PPE for the needs of medical and industrial manufacturing that was essential. I think Pepper Hamilton wrote a letter to us kind of describing what we were doing, what the operation kind of looked like. We actually printed it out, passed it out to all the associates that were involved in production so they would carry it with them in case they would get pulled over on to and from work because there was a stay-at-home order. We posted it at our front doors, and in the meantime, we worked with Pepper and Hamilton to actually develop a application to the governor's office to make us an essential operation. We submitted that letter, took about 7 to 10 days, and we got approval back, and we've been running pretty hard since.
Matt, can you talk a little bit about how this changes Elite's vision for the future? Since we don't know how long masks and other PPE are going to be required, how does this change what Elite is looking forward to for the rest of this year and beyond?
Sure. So as Todd mentioned, Our first commitment was to our communities, to the frontline medical communities, to industrial workers, those essential businesses. And while our community our core community, our authentic community of gymnasts, swimmers, cheerleaders, etc., we're all at home. And so our business really pivoted to support those in need during this period. As our core business now starts to reopen, there's protocols in place where swimmers, gymnasts, cheerleaders, etc., will be required to wear face protection during, their reemergence back to their gyms. And so for us, it's, incumbent that we find a solution that is important to our athletes to get them back to the gym in a safe manner, abide by state protocols and CDC mandates in place to keep our athletes protected, our coaches protected, our gym owners protected. And so we've really started to develop products that aim to get our kids back to the gym and keep them safe and comfortable in, their natural environment, which is practicing, competing, etc. So what we've done is created a line of masks that not only are fun and vibrant but they're protective, they're comfortable, they're athletic materials, they're breathable, they wick away sweat, they can stay on the face during activity. And it also, through a lot of design and development, we've created masks that can be sublimated or decorated to match, not only what their excitement is for, gymnasts, where we can embellish, crystallized masks with gymnasts on the front of it, but also do great designs in their team colors so that there's a bit of team spirit about this. So we're really trying to take what is a necessity for the safety of our communities and bring some fun and some performance to it. And so we're very excited, that our communities are starting to come back. That's first and foremost. It's such, athletics, sport is such an important part of our communities, not only for our children, but for our adults. And to be able to, create product that can help deliver them back to the gyms in a safe and meaningful way is something we're very excited about. And, we're here to continue to evolve those designs, those products. And, we don't know how long it's going to last. That's the reality. But if we feel a sense of responsibility to provide our communities, those safety products to get them back to the gyms and keep them in the gyms.
That's great. So now a question for both of you, and let's start with Todd first. Tell us what you learned about yourself or your team at Elite as a result of this change in navigating the pandemic.
Yeah, I think personally for me is, and I guess I've learned this throughout my career, but that, the best laid strategic plans don't always work out, right? So you need to be able to react to current situations. You need to basically, fly by the seat of your pants every now and then. You need to take some risk. You need to have a bit of that entrepreneurial spirit. And you just need to have that pure passion and desire to make great things happen. I think, as for my team, just the pure joy that I saw when they were able to come back and the self-worth that they got from being able to come back from home and start working again. But not only that, but giving back, and they felt this pride of giving back to the community and being able to support the community for the PPE needs that were out there. And, that true GK spirit that we see every day and the passion around our products came out even when we were producing, masks and gowns. So it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to be part of.
And Matt, what about you?
I think a sense of pride and a sense of how nimble the organization was to unify, rally, and begin to pivot in a period where there was just so much uncertainty, and it was it was scary for all of us. And to watch our organization unify behind a single march that was not business related, it was community related. To watch how we pivoted, and really with the intent of making sure that we could use our production facility to start supporting our communities, those who were out on the front lines. Majority of our business was at home, but we could play a part in getting our communities safety and getting our communities support where they needed it. And so I think there's a lot of pride within our business to be able to pivot in a time of need, and just watch how everyone was able to put down their business mind and go towards, this is a community moment, this is a country moment, and what can we do to be supportive, and what can we do to get people product. And whether it was salespeople who are traditionally calling on major sporting goods retailers, who are now calling on industrial supply people, or frontline medical workers, or hospitals, or healthcare systems, that was a complete shift for them. But, they drop what they're doing. They're excited to be a part of that. And, Todd and team, within just absolutely unbelievable effort to take garment sewing facility and turn it over to make masks basically overnight was something that was really has generated a tremendous amount of pride across the organization. And, especially now that our core consumers are coming back to the sports that they love, being able to, pridefully, provide them solutions to get them back sooner and get them back quicker to the things that are so important in their lives. So I think it's been an incredible testament to the organization, the culture, and the willingness to do whatever it takes to get through periods like this.
Well, Matt and Todd, it's certainly inspiring to hear your story and Elite's story about how it was able to pivot. Thank you both to you for joining us, but also to Elite for helping our communities to navigate this pandemic and to do so safely with the needs of the PPE that we see and that you guys were able to help our communities meet. It's a great story, and we're pleased that Pepper could be a small part of it. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention before we conclude our podcast?
No, I'm good. I again just greatly appreciate the support that we got from Pepper Hamilton. Gave us the confidence to move forward quickly with our strategy that again has turned out to be very successful. We've I don't know if I mentioned it earlier or not, but we have actually now made since the shutdown on the 19th, we have now made just right at 500,000 masks and gowns. So pretty impressive, and it's been a lot of fun being part of it. So thank you.
And I would add, a special thank you to Pepper Hamilton and team. These situations produce questions, protocols, etc., that we're just not operating in on a daily basis. And to be able to have the professional support in the background to help us guide through absolutely uncharted waters and figure out the way that we can get something done efficiently, effectively, but within the guidelines of state guidance, which was so imperative during this period. We wouldn't have been able to do that as swiftly and as efficiently without the support of Pepper. So a special thank you to Justin, you and the team for guiding us through that process.
Well, thank you, and thanks again to Elite and all of the team members who work to reach all of the PPE needs that you've met so far. Thank you very much. I hope that our audience has found this discussion helpful and informative. If you're interested in hearing more about Pepper's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, visit our Pepper Hamilton and Troutman Sanders COVID-19 Resource Center at covid19.pepperlaw.com. Thank you for joining us.
These recorded materials are designed for educational purposes only. This podcast is not legal advice and does not create an attorney-client relationship. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individual participants. Troutman Sanders does not make any representations or warranties, express or implied, regarding the contents of this podcast. Information on previous case results does not guarantee a similar future result. Users of this podcast may save and use the podcast only for personal and other non-commercial educational purposes. No other use, including without limitation, reproduction, retransmission, or editing of this podcast may be made without the prior written permission of Troutman Sanders.